Yeah.
Hi, welcome to Tea Time with Amie and Bev.
Good morning.
Beverly is
Good day.
working on saging us. So if you want to just hang on for a second while she gets the sage lit, and we're just getting started, and we have no idea what we're going to talk about, which is true every week. But today I think is one of those days that I really have no idea what to talk about.
Well, it's unfiltered. We're unfiltered, really. I mean, it just is the way it is. So we got a little bit of smoke going on here. There we go. So we get everyone saged.
Hey, bring that smoke in.
Yeah, just feel the clearing, lifting, cleansing. I just think of love and everything else. I really have like so many things going on in my mind. So it's going to be like a simple kind of day because, like I was telling you, the one part of the conversation that we decided we can't talk, but I just told you, like, heads up. I went to sleep around 2. It was actually the time I had seen, which I haven't looked up yet because it keeps slapping me in the face all day today and last night, was 2:22. So I'll go look and see what that message, how that resonates with me. What does that feel like? And when I look it up, I look up angel numbers, so 222. What's been before that is 444. I keep getting, like, it's been ridiculous. I know, I see you're smiling like, yeah, you're dealing with some of the same stuff.
Well, 444 is one of my numbers all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah,
which is cool, but it definitely is. And I like 333 because that resonates with the ascended masters and stuff. So there's certain things that I like. It reminds me when I'm working on someone, like, that consciousness is so with us, and I feel like it makes me feel emotional when I say these things. So, like, I like the idea that I did not sleep as much as I could have last night because I got up at 6:45, so a small amount of time. So I had a nap, basically.
I might have one today, just saying.
Yeah, I will too, but it's just not having that. So you lose that filter, but is that a bad thing? No, because that filter, like, dropping that stuff right now, as I'm recognizing, dropping that filter is not restraining myself. You're just going to get me 100%, but from a loving, joyful place. And then when I say joyful, there's one thing, some people don't believe in reading other people's books or listening to videos or, doing those things. They want to do their own stuff. But some of us are led to those kind of things. So there is no right or wrong way when we're doing the spiritual journey, because you're going to have some people, well, I don't believe in that, and I don't do this. Well, that's fine, because that's cool, because that's what resonates with them. That's great. Yeah. But what resonates with me is I received the guidance. And I've listened to Suzanne Giesemann. I've been listening to her a lot. I have that draw right now. That's where I can't get enough of it at a lot of the times. And she talks about how that she's referred to or even given a name of as God. And I think we talked about this a little bit recently. If not,
here it is.
Here it is. And if it is, well, you need to hear it again. But it's calling it joy. So you think about that, because there's no negative connotations. And I was talking to a client about that, and it's like, really just stop and feel the word joy within you, and stop and feel the word God. There's been so many other feelings or negativity that's been placed on that word, but joy is so simple. So I get up in the morning, I'm like, good morning, joy. Like, oh man, joy, what kind of a day are we going to have today? And it feels so good. It makes my eyes want to water up, because it just feels good every time I feel this, which is also bring me into connection with heart. That's been my goal for so long, because I would focus on it and I would feel nothing, not really anything in that space. I would have glimpses, but now I'm getting there all the time. And it's because of that conversation.
And I mean, it was just an automatic thing. You brought your hand to your heart, and that's where our spirit is in our space of our heart space and love. And you can also use that for grounding. I just want to point that out, that
okay,
just bringing your hand and placing it over your heart chakra, the center of your chest there on your sternum, that you're, just, for me, I feel the warmth right through the palm of my hand, and it just makes me drop from my head right into my heart space. And I'm just like, oh, and I'll feel myself just sink into my body, and actually relax a little,
Mhm.
because it just is so calming and soothing to bring my awareness there when we're so busy in the head. So that's just a super easy grounding process. Just bring your hand, palm of your hand to your heart space and take a couple rounds of deep breathing. And you know what? You can just do that while you're peeing. Let's be real.
Yeah.
It's not like it's one more thing added to your plate. No, do it when you're using the bathroom. Okay. It's so easy.
It is. Do it when you think, when you say thank you to the waitress after, or the waiter dropping your food, say, you can say it to them like like everybody has a habit of doing, but really then put your hand on your heart and like, thank you. You don't have to say anything to them. It's that whole emotion. They will feel that coming from you. I say it all the time, like life is awesome. It really is awesome, which is how we want to perceive it. As you were just talking about this, and you were talking about how it was grounding and how you were feeling, at the same time, I recognized within myself, I took a nice deep breath in. I wasn't holding my breath at that moment. And it was
Yeah.
because that's the same thing. So I would tell anyone, rewind the video back again and then pay attention to how your body responds to these conversations. They are so valuable. They really are. And it's on a feeling. There's such a value in that. And it helps you get connected with yourself again, back into this part of our body that we came to celebrate life in. Something else I've listened to, because of course, Suzanne Giesemann, I know I seem to say all her praise for things. There's just a lot of stuff that resonates with me right now. Before it was Esther Hicks, or before it was, Wayne Dyer, which I still love these people. I think they're absolutely amazing and phenomenal. But she was interviewing this guy, and I don't know his name, and I don't know what video it was, but it's on YouTube, and he's talking about SDEs. So not NDEs, near death experience, it's SDE, which is shared death experience. And it's so freaking awesome that I'm hearing this, because if you process this on a level, even of someone that's okay, just like for yourself, when you were caretaking for someone else, when you're going through the process of knowing that someone's going to be leaving their physical body, but when you can be there, this person's talked about how you can actually see everything that they're seeing and experience everything they're experiencing without having the near-death experience, without dying. So then what a glorious thing. And then this guy's talking about how he had these experiences. He had near-death experience, and then it went on to his shared death experience. He was working in San Francisco during the height of, or the time frame of the AIDS epidemic, and people were passing away, which he said it was horrendous. There was like horrendous stuff that was going on at that time, these processes. But one of the experiences he talks about, where one of his friends came and told him, he's like, well, such and such just passed away last night. And he's like, oh gosh, I'm sorry for that. Sorry for you. And he says, it was the most beautiful thing. And he's like, what do you mean it was beautiful? And he said that they were all around him, and they all got to have that experience from the transition. They experienced him. They saw like a silver, I don't know if they saw a silver cord or whatever they saw coming down. They saw him leaving his body, like having that full experience. And what a beautiful, what a different way of looking at life, instead of us coming from this other perspective. And it's like, I heard that and I was like, this is the example when I say there's great things that come out of things that seem so horrible. This came out of that. And then now he's sharing this word, which is years later, right? From his experience, from the height of a lot of that stuff that was going on then. But he's sharing this experience now, which is opening up my mind for even more possibilities and looking at life even in a different way, really. So it's not like, oh gosh, I don't want to be there when they die, or how horrible it is. It's like how beautiful it is to go from that one transition to the next. Just as beautiful as it is as a baby coming into this world. Amazing.
Yeah, it's getting into the mindset of honoring the journey of people leaving the physical body, like you said, just as much as a celebration of a baby coming into the physical body.
Yeah.
It's honoring that process, because this is temporary. This life is temporary. And just knowing, like I'm at some point I get to I get to drop this physical body and go back, you say they got to go back home. Yeah. And how many of you who listen to us, do you feel like for whatever reason, you don't belong here? Well, it's that longing for home. Just like I know when I was little, a couple times I would sleep over at somebody's house and you get homesick, right? You want to go home. Well, that's what we're feeling in our spirit in this body is we want to go home. And it sucks. I mean, I'm just going to say a lot of the experiences I had, they just sucked and I just didn't want to be here. So just recognizing we are here for a reason. I feel that very strongly for such a time as this with everything going on. And you matter, right? You make a difference just by being here. There's a reason you're here. And so let's link arms and let's keep going. We'll get through this.
Yeah. It's so cool.
Be in your joy. You can be in your joy still, even when shit's going sideways.
Yeah. But it's just that conversation. It's just, for me, I don't know what that looks like right yet, because it's like, I just will pay attention to just saying those words. And we've talked about really feeling what words feel like. And if you can sit and say God, and that doesn't feel good in you, then fine. For me, I was struggling. It's been a while now. And I would probably say this last year, like I've really focused on how I want to communicate with what we would call God. And joy is the one that feels good every single time I say it. That feels that, because that is joy. I mean, that is everything that's wonderful in our existence, our whatever. I mean, it's everything. It's everything. So it just blows my mind to be able to get into that process for me. And this is what resonates with me. Someone else might say, well, that's blasphemous. You're not using God's name. It does. Again, we go back to the whole process. It's what resonates with me. It doesn't have to resonate with everybody. So, I had that, we talked about this, and I'm going to talk about it again, because I'm kind of growing through this. I'm trying to gain, or not trying to, I'm gaining a different understanding. So when I talked to that evidential medium, I think it's been a week or two ago now, I don't even remember now, but it's been recent. And she had told me that it came forward to her for me to envision that I was holding that basketball, holding the two basketballs. And I've got one that's here in the physical, and then I've got one that's spiritual. It's this non-physical area. And then now I'm processing that, is really recognizing it's not this basketball that I'm holding in my hands is kind of like the gauge I'm steering my life with this, right? So if I'm like, oh, worried about all this stuff, I'm all the way over here. And if I'm too much doing, I'm all the way over here, or whatever it is. But it's like every time I process this, okay, I see myself holding the basketball that's in spirit. I see that all the time. And no matter what I see as a problem in my life, if I focus on that area, there is no problems. And I'm in the middle of this. So it's like, it's a process for me right now to see how this is going to play out. But it feels good. It feels like that's the way. So every time if I think about my body, or if I think about money, or if I think about work, or whatever it is, I recognize exactly in that mind, because this comes from our awareness too, which we've been talking about a lot, is being aware of our thoughts. And I'm recognizing if I'm holding those two together, those balls stacked on top of each other, I'm recognizing my thoughts at that moment. And I'm recognizing how I'm not holding it. I'm not holding it steady with everything that is.
While you were talking, saying all that, there's no problems.
No.
What came to my mind as a visual to explain this a little in like fifth grade term, or a 5-year-old's term, is you have the water running right in a river, and there's boulders, or there's a tree limb, or what does the water do? Just goes around it. It's just an obstacle. It's the what you would perceive as a problem is just information, and the information is going to help you navigate the direction that you're going to choose to go. And it really is a choice, because you can choose to plow through the problem. You can choose to look at it from different angles and get different solutions. You could get a mentor, a coach, read a book. Like the thing that you're looking at as a problem is there to help you grow. And so it's not a problem, it's just an experience to help you expand your awareness in whatever way that is showing up for you in that moment. That's what was coming to me while you were talking. I'm like, oh, I got shit.
Awesome. That's awesome. Like I said, it doesn't matter how, even it doesn't matter how we see things on an individual basis. It's just another perspective of it, which is awesome. It's awesome. And it is going with that flow. So it, for me, but that flow is from spirit, because if I operate from an egoic, from my physical, if I operate from all this stuff, I'm operating from traumas, growing up, I'm operating from that space. And now with this information that I've received, and it's changing my perspective, because that's what spirit wanted me to have. Because she even said, well, I'm going to use this. Do you mind? I'm like, no, I don't mind, because she got it too. And I have to recognize, I don't have to recognize, I'm recognizing sometimes I'm talking about things on such a different level that maybe it won't be perceived very well. And so you helped by bringing it in and giving another perspective to that. So it's not good or bad. It's just more. You're welcome, everybody.
You're right. You're welcome.
And now it's up to each individual's interpretation of how that flows for you. And then if you don't understand it, being like, I don't get it, it'll start showing up for you in a way that you'll understand. Because I heard her say that, and I'm understanding it, but I'm understanding it on a deeper and deeper level every day, because I'm actually operating from that space, because I feel like my guides are guiding me into that space for that understanding.
Awesome. Just a quiet moment. Processing.
Awesome.
Like, damn, Bev, I wasn't awake enough for all this heavy, deep conversation today.
But that's the thing. We are awake. We're awake. Our souls are awake. Our souls never are harmed. Our souls are complete, 100% intact. Like, we are so amazing.
Yeah.
But if we're holding that, if we're in that balance with everything that is, and then it makes this journey here in the physical so much smoother,
Right.
so much easier. Because then you are just floating down that river, and then you don't have to steer it. The river just guides you around to the next place. So you might witness something off to the side.
And you know what? You might bump into it. You
Yeah.
actually might bump into it, but if you give it time, it's just going to take you around.
Yeah. You don't have to throw it in your freaking boat with you.
No, you're going to sink. Just so you know.
Oh shit. But seriously.
And you know what? Spirit doesn't see problems.
Mm-mm.
And that's what we're having this conversation about, is spirit doesn't see problems.
Because there is none.
There are no problems.
Isn't it? It's the conversation you've said, and I've heard Suzanne Giesman say it. I've heard a few. Isn't that interesting? And constantly, like she's had some challenging situations and not understanding what's going on, but she constantly says, "Isn't that interesting?
Right?
Isn't that interesting?" So because we gain, there's so much to be gained from all this stuff. Just like us talking about that situation with the other person, he learned shared death experience, which is huge.
Yeah.
That is a huge movement. That is so going within and recognizing. And then I've heard Suzanne Giesman recently talking about animals and how once they've transitioned over there, they're like so freaking happy, and they still like to hang out with us. So it's like they haven't gone anywhere. You just don't have to pick up their shit anymore. That's all.
Right. I'm
You're
all
not
about
having to wipe.
that.
Yeah, you don't have to wipe the slobber off every 5 minutes. I mean, there's a lot of positives here, guys.
Don't worry about that in the middle of the night when you're dead asleep, but as soon as they go,
Yeah, you're
right,
like,
how fast are you awake?
yeah. You could be ziplined from your body on 3 different freaking levels away on 10 other planets further away, whatever. And then next thing, as soon as you hear that sound, you're like, you freaking slam back into your body and you're like ready to go. It's
So
freaking
true.
crazy. It is. It's crazy. But that's just another awesome perspective to see things. And it's like, that to me is very freeing of the responsibility. So she even talks about, Suzanne even talks about, when we have to make those decisions, that it's time that we feel, because we've been guided that it's time for an animal to transition. Because if we were listening to them, they'd be like, please set me free.
Yeah.
Just like a psychic had told me that when I was getting information for the dog to make, see what she needs, that she was just waiting for her owner to be ready to let her go so she
Oh,
could
sure.
transition. And that was it. But if we can see these things from a totally different perspective, it's so freeing. It's liberating. There is no end. And I think that's a scary thing when we think that, oh, I'm never going to see them again. Well, that's not true. It's not true. That's an old story.
Yeah, I had a class over the weekend, and this lady, she is on her spiritual journey. I feel like she knows it's time, and so now she's starting to get, take the classes, get the information. But it was a Reiki 1 and 2 certification class. And, I asked them to share, what was your experience? Or is there anything you want to share that stood out? And she said, I saw 3 shadows. And so I listened to her perspective of it. And I said, here's what I want you to know. And she goes, it was just a confirmation that they are with me. And I said, okay, here's what I want you to know. You were so present in the experience of what's going on today and in the moment that you allowed yourself to see that. So that goes, just confirming, like, there's no separation there. All our family and friends and animals are around us, or we have connection to them always when we're here and when we go home, right? When we go back into spirit. But to have that ability to be present, to feel them and acknowledge them, and those signs, right? Quote unquote signs or messages that they bring to us, the 222 and the 444 and the playfulness. You set your keys down somewhere and you go to get them and they're not there, and you're like, I know I laid them here and they are not here. And you leave the room, you come back and they're sitting, like they're playful, they're loving, they're with us, and they're supporting and guiding us. And it's like allowing yourself to have that or feel that connection and truly embrace and embody that connection.
It's beautiful. And then when you do it for yourself, you start recognizing you're doing it for others. You do it for others. So something recently happened to me that I had a client in, and I've been talking about like mediumship and stuff like that. And I'm not even, it was just when I'm doing massage, I come into a different awareness because I'm not there about me. I'm not going through my problems. Right. I surrender. I'm a willing spirit when I'm moving forward through all this stuff for this information to flow through me. So I'm just letting it be. And this gal gets done and we're talking, and I'm like, and I know that her grandmother had passed recently, but it's like, I said, yeah, and I know you've been dealing with your grandmother that, passed and blah, 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 blah. And I see her grandmother over her shoulder, not as if another body is standing right there, but I see this, and it's a glimpse, it's a quick. And I'm only sharing this because we all do this. And then the only way you're going to know it is by having an awareness of it. And then when your mind tries to talk you out of it, it's to not rationalize it. And so instead of I didn't share everything that I had received at that time with her, but I saw her over her shoulder, and then I see her like picking up her legs and kind of moving around. And she looks thin. I didn't share that she was thin in this picture, so I don't know if she was or not. But I asked her, I said, because I've listened to enough of these psychics and all these mediums and stuff, I said, was your grandma not able to get up and move around or do anything when she was at the end here? And she says, no, she couldn't do anything. And I said, because I just saw her, and it was a glimpse of it, but I saw her like picking up her knees and like moving around like I can do this. And she still showed up. Sometimes I have seen him look younger or whatever, but she still showed up. I think she was younger, but she wasn't like in her 20s yet when I had seen her. So it's just interesting. And the only way I would have known that is if I paid some awareness to it, so that I asked questions for myself for my own confirmation. And it's also a confirmation for them too. And did I go anything further with that? I did not. But I was just recognizing what I was seeing. And then I also was recognizing, because I'm in awareness, how my mind's trying to rationalize these things like, But what if they're a little bit heavier? Would grandma have been really thin like that? You know, my mind's going through this process, and it's like and a judgment at the same time. Just because I've seen a lot of families how we have a tendency to, you know, kind of mirror those around us. So it's like was going through this whole process and then taking the time to ask questions, and then when I felt like I saw red hair, and my feeling was she dyed it, and she says, well, I only ever saw her with gray. So I don't know if she ever did that, but I mentioned it. It's like it doesn't matter to me. I don't have to have attachment to that outcome. This is information. This is what I saw, but I'm going to share it, and then that's it. I just move on forward from it, and it will make sense to them or it won't make sense to them. But it's just interesting, and so I'm not second guessing myself. I'm just going with the flow. Just like we go back to your river analogy, I'm just going with that flow and seeing. I might bump up against something, but then I just kind of go right. It just pushes me back into that flow again.
Yeah, that's beautiful. When you're allowing, and just so you know, in my class, I said, because they were asking about the room that we were in. I said, yeah, because they were thinking it was somebody there that was new to me, and she's like, oh, I just love your room. I said, thank you. This is a shared room. It's actually Beverly's room, and you know, she's a massage therapist, and I utilize it for classes and stuff. And I said, yeah, she's a massage therapist and a channeler and a Reiki healer.
Awesome.
So I'm promoting you, Bev. So you got to step up.
Just like that. Well, but it's interesting because you felt spirit guided you to do so, honestly. And so I had been studying the quantum healing hypnosis therapy, and I haven't done anything more with it. I tried setting up my daughters. They were both gone that weekend that I was going to do it, so we didn't do it. One of my clients on Saturday says, I really want to do a past life experience, a regression. And I said, well, this is what I do. And it will take you on this past life, but it also goes to something so much bigger. And that's how spirit works, because that's something else. So it's just reminding me that, yes, I am a channeler, and yes, the quantum healing hypnosis or the QHHT on my mind.
Yeah, all those words and syllables.
Yeah, the QHHT is beneficial because channeling is, and I kept telling everyone, I really feel like when Dolores Cannon, she's the one that created QHHT, when she was doing that, she was channeling, and she would say all the time, I'm not channeling. Well, I know when you say that, if you say I'm not channeling, you definitely are channeling, by the way.
Yeah.
But I feel like she was channeling, or she wouldn't have been able to ask all these questions. I'm not saying that she wasn't brilliant and smart, but it brought forward questions that needed to be asked. And that's what spirit does for us all the time. All the time.
And that's that. And so people can understand
channeling
is a connection with spirit that you're just allowing. It's like a big download of information.
Yeah.
Course in Miracles was channeled. Wayne Dyer declares that he didn't write his book. Like the information down, like he would just sit there with a pen and paper and write whatever was coming to him. But he said at one point, at one book he was working on, he was writing so fast that he forgot to number the pages, and he was writing and throwing the papers on the floor and writing just because it was coming. And that's a form of channeling, is you're just bringing in the information and it's just coming out. And that's what Esther Hicks does with Abraham, channeling. They call it Abraham's collective consciousness. Spirit, we say spirit all the time. It's just allowing that information to flow through you.
Yeah.
And it's taking it's learning the discernment of, because at first you're like, where did that information come? Because I ain't that smart, just saying, right? If I was channeling Einstein, I'd be like, I know that was not me, because I'm not that smart. However, the information is always available to us. And if I take my human ego self aside, it's like kind of just stepping aside and just letting that information flow through. That's it.
That's it. It's
That's
simple.
it. So technically I'm a channeler too, because I do that too with people.
Yes.
So I just don't own that title.
Yeah, we all do it. Until you have the awareness. because the awareness helps you recognize that you are doing it. We do it all the time, all the time.
Yeah.
Spirit just happens, and it happens so often that it's a common place for me. And it's like, I don't know how do you even, well, I don't know how to do that. Freeman tells me, you're already doing it. You're already doing it. Like, he constantly reminding me, and my mind tries to rationalize this stuff.
Right.
And it's just being in that space and not putting so much of the left brains, because they always want to say right brain, left brain, but not putting so much of that into fact as a factor in the information I'm receiving. It's not to process it that way. It's to process it through my heart. So I'm receiving all that information up here, and it's for me to bring it down to my heart and be able to share it, to be able to process it from a different perspective.
Because when it comes
Or
to your
or
head,
through my filter.
when
Yeah.
it comes to your head, that's where we start going, where'd that information come from? I don't know. Who said what, right? We start processing and analyzing, questioning, and is it okay for me to say that? Is it safe? Is somebody going to judge me and criticize me? And,
Yes.
right? We go into, but like Bev said, we drop, where's our spirit? It's in our heart space. It's in our, oh, monarch butterfly just flew by my window. It's like, whoa, it's big too. So dropping into our heart, our spirit is going to say, share it. Somebody needs to hear it. It came to you for a reason, sister. You need to open your mouth.
That's right. That's right. And that even reminds me, because at one point, Suzanne was with a group of friends, and I think they were just practicing and playing with this as channeling, because I think more than one person was channeling at that time. And then she brings forward this gruff voice and everything else that's saying all these things, not her mannerisms, not her anything, talking through her. Not, if some people might feel like, oh, that's evil, but you stop and feel, this is where you have to use your own discernment. It's not what you've been taught. This brain stuff, some of the stuff that you've retained from ancestral all the way down to here, that's been from traumas. So it's being in this space to be able to recognize, how does that feel? How does this information feel? Does that resonate with you? And if it doesn't, that's fine. Then you move on. It's not like, ooh, that's evil. It's like, oh, I'm back on my raft, and I'm going to go ahead and float this direction, because the next thing is going to come up to me that I can handle. I can understand that actually speaks to me. But this channeling thing, we all do it. Everyone does it. Everyone does it. They use our experiences. That's our filter. That's through a part of our filter, which is what we go back to the beginning of the conversation. I'm thankful that I didn't get as much sleep as I did that I would normally have gotten last night, because I don't have any of the filters. And if this is the way that's better for me to operate this way for now, great. Because I'm going to find that positive. So a lot of times before in the past, I've been like, oh God, I didn't sleep last night, blah, blah, whine. Now it's like, well, I'll honor my body, and I'll meditate later, and I will take a nap. I will do some yoga today. I will honor the body for it, what it did. It stayed up. So I'm going to honor my body and do these other things for it, because I know it feels good. But it's just being in this space. And if I didn't have this awareness, if I wasn't constantly receiving information, that's the thing. It's discerning. We go back to our topic about last week about talking about meditation. When we're meditating, we don't have to shut off the brain. Oh God, here it comes again. It's talking about the freaking list I got to do, and this thing that happened in the past. Oh, what am I going to do about this thing in the future? It's not, we're not pushing that stuff away. You're just feeling it, and like, oh, that's not what we're meditating right now. We're relaxing. I don't need that information in right now. It's just, oh, thank you. Just see it, let it pass by, and then go on to the next thing. Then you start receiving the information. Then you have an awareness that you're receiving that information. And then your mind pops up again and starts talking some shit. You're like, oh, hey, I recognize that. Yeah. We can have that conversation later if you like, but let's go over here.
And relaxation is super huge. When you're practicing seeing auras, they tell you to relax the eyes. When you're meditating, relax. When I'm with a client for like a Reiki or chakra balancing, I want them to relax. So I don't want their attention on me. I want their attention on something that they can focus on that's going to help them relax. So everything we do, if we were to relax into it, again, it's not a problem, it's an experience, or it's a situation, or it's just something that's come up. If we could relax into it, we would move through it much easier than trying to bump our way through it, figuring the shit out.
Absolutely.
Prime example, drunk drivers. Very seldom do they get injured because their body is so relaxed from drinking that they don't sustain any injuries. But the person who sees the driver coming at them, or they tense up, what happens when you tense up? Everything gets jarred, and it's like there's no flow with the movement of the vehicle when it on the impact, right? So very seldom does a drunk driver get injured.
Yeah. And so that's like an extreme control. Do you know what I mean? I understand it because that's our automatic responses. You'd want to brace yourself for whatever.
Right.
But we've been
Or when you
bracing.
fall, what do? You put your hands out,
Yeah.
and then that impacts your wrist. It could break your wrist or your arm or your shoulder.
We've been operating from that space our whole lives, honestly. Really thinking that you bracing yourself for so many things instead of just going with that flow. And maybe that's what, my mind's processing this now. Like as we age, right? They say that you start losing your balance, first of all. So you're not balanced. And then you break a lot easier. So then you have all these fears and you're trying to control things because we've learned this control this whole life instead of learning how to just fall, like learning how to just go into it, free falling into things, which even brings my mind into something else. Let me expand you a little bit for everybody, like expand your imagination. This guy I listen to, Jason Estes, I don't always agree with everything. Let me rephrase that. Not everything he says resonates with me, but I listen to him because there's a process in this. Because we have so much to gain by listening to someone, whether it feels, even if they're coming to us and they're abrasive and pushy, when you stand back and you relax into yourself, you recognize there's something there. There's always something there for us. And it doesn't have to, we don't have to feel that push. If we're vibrating higher, we don't have to feel it. So it's recognizing being in that space. I don't even know where I was going with that, but that's where it ran. That's what it ended up going into. Because I don't even remember what I was saying before that.
We're talking about bracing for impact, and
because we've done it.
We've been doing it our whole life.
And because we have, it'll come back to me. If it's something that's meant to flow out, it'll come back to me. But it's just really what I'd let people know. It's like letting go. It's letting go and going with the flow. Oh, I was talking about Jason. It's letting go and going with the flow. So he says that he'll go on. He's been doing this forever. So he says he does art. You just can't see it, but you can feel it. So like, for an example, he might go to someone's house. Let's say it's 2-story, and he's looking at it and he's like thinking, oh, these are the clouds up here and the clouds down here. And then you can go up this stairway. Oh, and there's water flowing through this, but he sits there and he envisions this. He really feels this, which I've been practicing. Even like when I lay on my bed, I'm envisioning that I'm laying on these clouds. And no matter what, these clouds are the most freaking comfortable clouds ever, like ever. So I'm doing this. So I'm creating, but I'm visually playing with it like a kid would play with things. And then he envisions like, okay, so we got steps. So it's like a waterfall. So there's water running down. It's nice and cool and refreshing. People go in afterwards and they start feeling all these sensations of what he put there. So he's creating art in a space that you just don't see, but it's palpable. You can feel it. So playing with that. So I go to the whole process of playing, and that goes to the whole process of balancing spirit with life here. But it's focusing on the spirit part because there's nothing that's impossible. Everything is possible. I could have a ginormous butterfly. I can see it in my mind right now, bigger than the one you saw, because it's got to be huge. And it's like rainbow colors and it's flying by right now. I mean, I can see that. So it's like this can be our space of being in joy. This is part of the journey of experiencing life how we wanted to when we came here, but we had to go through the journey to get through all the muck and guck to right where we're at right now, because that was leading us back to this path. And now we get to share this journey with everybody else on this shared life experience. We get to go through this and be in spirit at the same time. So we bring it forward for them to realize, oh my gosh, holy shit, look at all my loved ones standing over here. Like, you guys need to give me some space, because I just turned over and looked this way. And there's like all like you would see like ancestors, like everybody's like standing over, like they're all going to fit over on this side of the room, but Like I could see things like that. And it's not something that's a picture that I would hold up. It was just like I happened to look over and it's like I could see like a quick image. So like a download of information. It's quick. It's just so fast. So I'm glad I'm experiencing this right now, because then I can share it. That's how it felt. You can go back to it. If you've ever had someone, if you're in awareness and you've ever had someone talking about a story about what they were seeing, you see it, because now you're connected in with their energy and you're seeing it. And it's like being shown to you right then. Man, life is amazing. I'm just having a lot of amazing stuff. I am not sleeping tonight at all. I am so oversleep now. Who needs it?
Who needs it? I know. I think I'm getting there too. Yeah, I didn't sleep. I didn't sleep much Friday night, and then Saturday, well, yesterday, Sunday, I had that class. Well, it was a 4.5 hour class.
Nice.
And then you have to add for setup and take, clean up and a Reiki 1 and 2 class, that takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of energy. And on my part, as the facilitator, the teacher. And so Saturday night, if I got 2 hours of sleep, that was a lot. Honestly, I just felt like I was laying there in the bed with my eyes closed, but not sleeping. So if I got about 2 hours of sleep, I think that would have been a lot. And I got up when the alarm went off. Of course, I laid there. I'm like, oh, Lord, help me through this day, because I'm going to need some help here. But you know what? Got up, flew through the class like I had had a good night's rest. Easy peasy, easy peasy. Typically for me, when I have, I'm going to use the word intense. It wasn't intense, like, it's crazy, but just a lot of energy is exhumed for, or, used for facilitating the class and teaching, that especially that long of a class, that I'll come home, I'll do a couple things, and then I sit down and I will usually take a nap, because the energy is like, my body then feels not really exhaustion, but it just needs to rest.
Yeah.
And so I did that. And I think I had maybe 15-20 minute nap. And then I went up the rest of the day and the night. But it was really incredible that, and I'd done it before in my life. It's not the first time, but to not have that very much sleep, and then to go through an entire day of, putting out all this energy for something, and maybe 15-20 minute nap and you're good. Like, it's just so phenomenal to me that we have that ability. And when I think the lack of sleep and that energy that I put out for the class kind of all caught up to me. And so this morning I had a really hard time getting up, and even when I was logging in, I'm like, oh, I was praying to the angels. I'm like, hey, oh, you got to be helping me through this. I don't know what we're going to talk about. I hope I can keep my eyes open. But now I'm like, okay, I'm feeling pretty good now. So it just ramped up that vibration, which is super important when we get our energetic vibration up. And it's like fuel. It just is that thing that we need to keep going. And it's not even adrenaline. It's not adrenaline. That's big difference.
Or caffeine.
Yeah. And I had a cup of coffee, but that wasn't, I don't look at coffee as a stimulant. Like I just like a cup of coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
And it's not about, I don't depend on coffee to keep me awake. I just enjoy a cup of coffee in the morning. And so, yeah, I was like, okay, Bev, if my eyes start sinking, but I feel great now.
So hilarious. Cause I was thinking, because we wanted to see the app. We had a hellacious storm last night.
It
Like
was
it was,
so incredible.
it was amazing.
It
Like
was
it was
so
amazing.
incredible.
We went outside and it's like there was the way the lightning and the thunder was going on, and then we got hit by hail last night. It was pretty
Oh,
intense.
it did.
Yeah, yeah, it caused some damage on one of our little units that we have for AC and stuff like that. And we walked around, we walked outside after the everything, and it rained, like it really rained.
Yeah.
And I opened up the doors to let the air back in, for the airflow through the house. And I could hear this like running water. We had our wash was running right next to the house. There was a wash running that was away from the house that had to have been massive because it sounded massive. We just didn't go down and check it out. But it was just phenomenal. Like
Yeah.
it was crazy.
What it
Phenomenal.
reminded me of was like at the red carpet events or whatever, like back in the day when you had all the flashes going,
Yeah,
because that's how fast it was. It just looked like these old camera light bulbs were just flashing and flat. It was just amazing.
it was. It
Man.
was amazing. It reminded me of the Poltergeist movie, to be honest with you, when the storm
Oh,
was going on. I'm like, yeah, we're having a Poltergeist kind of storm. I mean, that's because that's what it.
it's the
But
end.
and it's so crazy because we let two of our pups out. They're almost a year, but we let them out together when it's dark outside so they can go run, and they'll come back. And they came back just within probably a minute of the storm hitting. I mean, they came back, we were like going inside, we could see all the stuff going on. I didn't know it was going to hit here. I didn't even know it was even, a lot of times it'll blow around us.
Yeah.
We'll look up outside and there's no clouds above our house, but there's a circle.
Everywhere.
So
Yeah.
our house won't have anything, but there's clouds all around us.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy. And then last night we were able to get the dogs in the house and then go close the windows. And as soon as those windows were closed, the rain, not even a second, probably after I closed the last window, it started pouring.
Yeah.
It was insane, but I loved it. I love it. And I keep saying, instead of, we hear people say all the time, oh, we need rain. We need rain. No, we don't. We get plenty of rain. We have plenty of water. It's like saying it's creating the opposite of, again, we've been hearing need for so long that we create ourselves this need for this to happen. We are getting so much rain this year, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So I keep saying we get plenty of rain, plenty. Because to me, when I say plenty, that means it's always enough. It's always perfect. It's never going to be too much and it's never going to be not enough. It's just plenty.
Yeah. But we want that bank full of water or that
Yeah,
bank
'cause I
full of
like it.
money, right?
Yeah. But we can have that. But if my thoughts, if I'm holding on to those two balls again, and I've got that bottom ball and I'm holding it in my hands and I keep thinking that there's lack, then I'm not balanced with what the energy is flowing into me, which it's been said to us a million different ways, because we've talked about the faucet running through you. And if you're turning it off or you're moving out of the way of the flow of the universe, I mean, we've used so many different ways, but this one right here makes sense to me. Because at first I'm like, why basketballs? But then I thought, well, the reason that's told to me why basketballs is because of the size. Because if it was two small balls, it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. But when you got something bigger like that, you have more of a sense of the vastness of it, or how big it can be, which it's much bigger than that. But this is something that's bigger than it's bigger than a softball. It's bigger than a golf ball.
Right. And then what happens if you try to hold it underwater?
Yeah. It's going to pop right back out.
If you let that go, it might pop up and hit you in the chin. Just saying.
Well, that's true.
And it takes a lot of energy to hold it under.
Yeah.
So.
Which is life, right? That goes back to Esther Hicks talking about trying to hold a cork underwater. Yeah, we'll go ahead and try. It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of your resources. Right. And that's the one thing I've gained even now from not even having to sleep anymore, because I don't have anything. It's just, you just have me right now. That's it. This is it. No filters. Yeah.
You get us. That's
right. We love it. And it's just hilarious to me that you didn't sleep either. So it's like, it's just hilarious to me. That's funny to me. It's ironic because I was sitting there thinking the same thing. Like, I don't know how I'm going to make it through this.
Yeah.
Because, that's what I was saying. Because we were going on this walk to go assess the damage of everything. So we actually walked up to the top of the hill for this other property that we have to kind of assess things. And I get up to the top of the hill and I felt nauseated. Well, because I haven't had enough sleep and I'm trying to push the body to do something. So
Yeah.
I sat down for a moment and rested. That passed. And then I felt fine to be able to walk with that. But I'm sitting there thinking, man, I hope I can I even thought like, man, maybe I should just tell her, maybe today is not a good day for this.
I thought that too. I'm like, no, I'm gonna be
So
there.
hilarious. Of course you did. But
I
it's
have
like, you
one
didn't
eye
listen.
open.
Yeah. But we listened to, this has been an awesome video to me. It has been.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably talked a lot, but that's nothing unusual.
I think it's great that you're talking a lot because back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's like, but that just goes to show you how much we evolved though, because it's a process that if I didn't have an awareness, I wouldn't be able to process all these things that are happening around us.
Yeah.
And they're happening all around us all the time. And the higher our vibration goes, and not because it's bad to be in a low vibration or better to be in a high vibration, it feels like joy versus feeling like sadness.
Yeah.
It's those two different feels for me. But it's just paying attention to how that feels and navigating it that way. That's all. And it's just having an awareness of it. And then you start having an awareness of what kind of this, when you have that awareness, then your path shows up. It doesn't show up before that because you can't see it because you're too busy thinking there's something wrong. And thinking I got to be on a path. I feel like I'm here to help serve. And if this is one of the many ways that I'll help serve, this is one of the many ways that I'll do it because it feels good. Not because I have to, not because you couldn't have joined in and done that meeting or ran that conference or class or whatever the thing was going to be. Instead of doing that, you honored yourself. You could have been great at it and you would be great at it, but that wasn't where your passion was at. So it's just all of us that we're talking about is helping guide you back to yourself. It's always this journey back to self, always.
Always. It
And
really
then
is.
back to self, yeah, it takes you right into this.
And when we say
amazing
back to
alignment.
self, we're talking about back to your spirit center.
Yes.
Your
Yes.
spiritual self.
To your
love,
joy.
to your
Yeah.
joy. And to me, love and joy are synonymous.
They are.
If I'm being joyful, I'm feeling love. And if I'm feeling love, I'm feeling joy. So whatever word they want to use.
Exactly. But then that just goes back to the preconceived notions that you might feel about God or you might feel about love. A word, like it's just filling those words and seeing what feels better. Like us saying tools versus toys. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just, and we know what we mean, but it's like it's for everybody else to recognize that too. You've got to discern what feels good for you.
Yeah.
That's all.
And find the people that are gonna resonate with your terminology.
Yeah. They're just going to flow to you, though. They just flow to you when you get into that.
Right.
I hear people say, oh gosh, I wish I could just have these conversations with everybody. I'm like, you can have these conversations with everybody. Just know that you can. And then the people are going to show up.
Right.
But then that goes back to even setting your intentions even more. That goes back to your conversation. If I'm going to be a guide, what does my clientele look like? So it's having an idea because that brings forward these people. I don't want to just bring forward people that I can help. I want to bring forward people that are ready and they're willing spirits to move forward on this path and surrender all the stuff that you're holding on to right now and carrying right now, to just be able to take it off you and surrender it, let it go. And that's an awesome space to be in. That actually makes me feel good. It makes me get goosebumps. It makes me feel, I can feel the emotions rising up within inside of myself. And that's only because I'm paying attention to this awareness that I have now. That is my awareness.
Yeah. Which allows you to be even more present to channel information.
Exactly. Because I'm becoming more in tune with this antenna that I am currently in.
Nice. You're welcome.
And thank you.
Well, I wasn't saying that directly to you, just in general.
No.
Listening that, hey, you're welcome that we're here sharing this information as we work through this stuff too. I mean, you've seen Bev and I have, well, I would say we've never been not in agreement. We just haven't been in agreement fully. Right.
Sure.
And then we have conversation, then we understand each other's perspective. And then it's like, oh, okay, I see that now. Right. So we just come to have our own therapy session every week and to work through some of the things that we're learning or have experienced. And we just bring that to the table to share with whoever wants to listen. So we appreciate your time and energy for being with us and sharing this with your people that would get it, right? Are ready to hear it and receive it. And it, again, doesn't mean you or anybody else going to resonate with everything that we say or talk about or believe. It's take the pieces that does resonate with you, that does help you feel better or a little better, that does help you shift your energetic vibration in a way that's on the incline, right? You're raising your vibration. That's why we're here. That's why we do what we do. And we've been doing this for almost 2.5 years. And so it's joy in our heart to be here and share this information.
Yes. And my thank you to everybody that was listening. Because when you said that, like, you're welcome. And it's like, thank you, because I haven't always been in a space of appreciation. So now I am thank you. Yeah. Thank you to you. And thank you to everybody that's taken the time to listen. Thank you to everyone that's been in our life experiences, because even though we might have perceived them good or bad, they were all experiences that led us to where we are right this very moment. So thank you.
Even in a lack of sleep, here we are.
I'm telling you, my sleep's no longer going to be 9-10 hours. It's going to be like 3 hours. Okay, right. Time to go.
Gotta go. So excited. All right, my friends, thanks for hanging out with us. Tea Time with Amie and Bev. Any final words?
Have a wonderful day.
Be amazing.
That's right.
All right, we'll see you next week.
Bye.